I feel like you're going to watch this wrap up and be like, but Katrina, that wasn't on your TBR, and that also wasn't on your TBR, but you didn't get to the books that were on your TBR. But it's just the way September went. Welcome to my September wrap up. Welcome back, or if you are new here, welcome. My name is Katrina and I make bookish content here on this channel at least twice a week, and then movie reviews or book to movie content here at the weekend. One of these books that I'm going to talk about is a book to movie video, and all of my social media links are in the description box below, including my blog and my Goodreads, so you can keep up with my reading in between times. I also have reviews for a few of these books that I am going to talk about on my blog already, so if you want to see a written review, you can check out my blog or my Goodreads to hear about that. Make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. And the way I do my wrap-ups is I talk about my ebooks, my physical books, and my audiobooks. And I don't believe that I have any physical books to talk about this month. So let's do with the 2 ebooks that I read this month. I have already posted reviews of both of these on Goodreads, and one of these has already been reviewed on the blog. The other I am on the blog tour for. So the one that I have already reviewed on the blog is Why Mummies Sloshed by Jill Sims. This one is the 4th and final book in the Why Mummies series that I absolutely love. It's written in diary form. Ellen has 2 kids and a husband and a dog, and just tells mum life as it is. Sometimes you're reading this and this, is this fiction? Is it non-fiction? Is this in here because it happened to the author? Probably. And this one, it has a Christmas tree on it. I don't know if it's supposed to be like Christmassy themed. I wouldn't say it's particularly Christmassy, but I am going to be attending a virtual book event for this book with Charliewood Bookshop. I love Charliewood Bookshop. Their events are fabulous, and I'm excited that they are doing virtual events because it means that I can attend from right here in Denver, which is very exciting. But this is adult fiction. I really enjoyed it. I just highly recommend this series. You don't have to have read the 3 books before this one to enjoy this one, but if you are planning on reading the other 3, you will be spoiled for them if you read this one first, but it will be linked below because it is out now. Very exciting. And then I have also read The Winter Garden by Heidi Swain, which is another adult fiction. This is a rom-com. Heidi Swain just writes these books where she takes these people who are, you know, a bit down on their luck and having a hard time, and then she makes the other characters in the book help them, and all your sort of faith in humanity is restored whilst you're reading this. Unless you're reading on your phone, you have Twitter notifications or BuzzFeed News notifications or BBC News alerts, in which case, you know, you're jolted out of that, or everybody's nice to each other, to actual reality. But this one's great because it's winter themed. So Heidi Swain's previous kind of winter books have all been Christmas themed, but this one is very much a winter theme. So if you are somebody that, you know, likes a seasonal book but doesn't want everything to be about Christmas, The Winter Garden is definitely for you because it is winter themed, not Christmas themed, and it has that wholesome wonderfulness. It also has some more than one character who isn't straight, and a little bit of romance that is not straight too, and that's a rarity to find in adult rom-com these days, so we like that here. Awesome. So that's the ebook and physical book portion of my wrap-up done. As always, we're audiobook heavy here, but we'll, you know, try and read some less audiobooks in the month of October. I don't know, but I could say that it probably won't happen. On to audiobooks, some audiobooks that very much were not on my TBR. We have Ayawadi on Ayawadi, a cinematic odyssey, where Richard Ayawadi interviews himself about his film career, and it's very Richard Ayawadi and very kind of off the wall. There are some very, very funny moments in it, but he does do that thing where he talks about, oh, if you want to know this, then you'll have to buy the book. And it's like, well, I did buy the book, I bought the audiobook, but I still bought this from Audible. I still, you know, you'll still get a book sale from it. I hate when people do that. Like, no, I'm not going to buy the physical book as well as the audiobook. And also, because it's him interviewing himself, I don't see how it would work as well as a physical book. If you have seen the physical book of this one, let me know in the comments, because I really do feel like it just works better as an audiobook because he is interviewing himself, and we have like clips and music and things like that in there as well, which I just don't think would work in the book. And I think obviously he talks about like diagrams and illustrations and photographs and things like that, but I really do think it works better as an audiobook. And I don't like the fact that he told me to buy the book when I did buy the book. That's why I'm listening to the book. I used one of my Audible credits that I pay for, same as if I'd bought the book. And also I could go and check out the physical book out the library. I don't have to buy it to see the illustration. A little bit narrow-minded there, Richard Ayawadi, I have to say. Also a little bit ableist, because, you know, if I'm listening to a book, I, you know, might be listening to it because I can't see a physical book. Let's not forget that. Anyway, that's a whole other video. Then another non-fiction audiobook that was not on the TBR. We've done some road trips this month, and so I've had to choose books that would suit us both to listen to, which generally is non-fiction. And so this is DriveThrough Dreams by Adam Chandler, a journey through the heart of America's fast food kingdom. And this just looks at like the history of the drive-through and the history of kind of fast food in general, starting with like White Castle and then moving on through Wendy's and Taco Bell and McDonald's. And obviously we know an awful lot about McDonald's because there have been quite a few films made about McDonald's. So it was interesting to hear about the other chains and kind of look at them in terms of their history and in terms of how they were affected by the fact that drive-throughs became a thing. So that's interesting as well. And it was well narrated and I really enjoyed it, but it did make me want to visit some of the chains that I haven't visited. And I feel like I shouldn't be adding more sort of fast food favourites to my list, and there are a few that I can't visit because we don't have them in this state, so that might take a little more time. And then we listened to from the Oasthouse, the Alan Partridge podcast. So this is like 18 podcasts put together as one audiobook, and it's one of these Audible originals. And it was interesting. I mean, I think if you like Alan Partridge, you'll definitely like this one. And there was definitely moments that made me laugh. There were moments in this one where it was, you know, it was meant to be that he was away doing other things in the background and you got to hear some background noise, but I did think that they were a little bit difficult to hear. And I don't know if this one has like a physical or an ebook counterpart, or if it's literally, I know it's an Audible original, but whether he is releasing this as a book as well in like script form or not, I don't know. But non-fiction, British humour, always quite nice. We listened to this whilst we were on a road trip, basically like through Colorado. So it was interesting being in the middle of the United States of America, listening to this British humour and this British comedian doing his thing. But yeah, I mean, it made me laugh. It was funny. And yeah, those three were unexpected TBR editions of the non-fiction audiobook variety. And then we also have another book that was not on my TBR that I listened to. Can you see the theme here? Can you see why we didn't get to everything on the TBR? This is Kind of a Big Deal by Shannon Hale. I became aware of this on Instagram and then I checked my library and it was just available to check out. So I checked it out on audiobook. I love this cover. I think it's a really cool cover. I love the colouring, and then I love all the various details on here, the playbills and the headphones and the books and the shoes. Very cool. Now this one, if you have read this one, you might be thinking, Katrina, this doesn't sound like it's up your alley, because it's kind of a little bit like fantasy-esque in the fact that this book surrounds the fact that she can kind of jump in and out of books. But because it's books, and it's a bit like going through the wardrobe into Narnia, I think I'm okay with it. I could handle it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I will say sometimes, because this audiobook was one, I had a week of a lot of driving, and I was picking it up as I was kind of getting back into the car. it was hard to then like get my head back into. I spent a lot of the first few minutes of listening to any chunk that I was listening to getting my head back into, right, which story are we in now, or are we in real life now? And her real life story is really interesting and really relatable for sure. And then I liked her jumping in and out of the books, but I think she was always a little bit unsure of what book she was going to end up in next. And when we got to the end, was it real life? Was she still in a book? And so that's kind of a lot to process when you're picking up and putting down an audiobook in small bits. So I would recommend, if you're going to listen to this one, listening to it in chunks, bigger chunks, rather than having it as a car, or like you listen to an hour on your walk every day or something like that. I would recommend listening to it when either you've got a longer journey, or you're going to be, you know, doing lots of housework in the house, and so you're listening during that time, or else just do it as a physical book, and then you can kind of flick back a little bit before picking it up. And this one is young adult, contemporary, but also like fantasy. It's a different one for me, but I have to admit that it was definitely a cover buy, hence the fact that I'm saying that I saw it on Instagram. And then another one, are you ready for another one that wasn't on my TBR? This one is You Had Me At Hola by Alexis, Daria, and this one was just kind of all over social media, and I liked the sound of it, so I put a hold on the audio from my library. It's adult romance, and I have to admit that parts of this one really made me cringe, and so I struggled to really connect with the romance and the sex scenes in particular in this one, because they just made me cringe. I liked the storyline and I liked the premise behind it, but more of it made me cringe, and so I did listen to the whole thing, but it was one that I just knew wasn't for me. I don't feel like romance should be making me cringe, really. And then we have Dear Justice by Nick Stone, that came out in the US on the 29th of September, but is released in the UK on, I think, the 3rd of November. It's definitely like the very first week of November. And the US copy is a grey, and the UK copy is this one. And I listened to this one on audio. I had a review copy from the Penguin Random House Volumes app. And so I was able to listen to this one. And this one is the follow-up to Dear Martin. So basically, we have Quan, who is writing to Justyce, who is the person who was writing to Martin Luther King in the first book. And they live in the same neighborhood, and we've moved on in time, but basically nothing's changed in the neighborhood. If anything, the kind of like racial profiling that goes on in the neighborhood has just got even worse. But the thing that I really, really liked about this one was the fact that it really highlights having somebody in your life who is there for you and is supportive of you and who is willing to fight your corner. One of the things that leads to kind of Quan's sort of down spiral is the fact that one of his favorite teachers left, and so school is not the same for him. People don't believe in him the same way as that teacher did, and as a teacher that was really kind of heartwarming for me, and I really connected with that. And I like the fact that that message is so strong here, and we have an author's note at the beginning and an author's note at the end, and I think they go a long way to really helping understand the book and understand the characters. And moments as I was reading the book, I was like, had to remind myself that it was fiction. And Nick Stone, in one of her author's notes, says that this is her most non-fiction like fiction book, even though she has written non-fiction. And so I really, really recommend it. It's completely timely. If you've read Dear Martin, it was just heartbreaking but so powerful and so easy to sit and listen to the whole thing. And Dear Justice was exactly the same. Heartbreaking, very powerful, and you felt compelled to keep listening. But I love that message of, you know, you do have people in your life who care for you, and the difference between having someone who's there to fight your corner and who's not, you know, feeling alone in the world versus feeling like you've got at least someone to support you. And then I listened to All About Us by Tom Ellen. Tom Ellen is half of one half of the writers who wrote Lobsters or A Totally Awkward Love Story. Again, we've got 2 titles in the UK and the US, and this is, I feel like this is his first book on his own, but I think I might be wrong. There might be a book with a hamster on the cover that was just him and not Lucy Iveson as well. Unsure, but this is romance and just sweet and lovely and just, yeah, I did that one on audio as well. Of course, we are in the audiobook section, and then I have some physical copies of things to show you. Exciting, I know. My last August Book of the Month Club pick that I picked up this month is The Unraveling of Cassidy Holmes by Elissa R. Sloan. And this one was kind of just everything I wanted it to be. I was really hoping that I would really enjoy this one and really love this one, and I really did. I connected with the characters. This one is like Daisy Jones and the Six meets Spice World the movie, which, you know, Spice World the movie is billed as being one of those flop movies, but for me, being of the formative age that I was when it came out, I loved it. I loved that film. It was so funny. Gloss, the girl band in this book, just felt a lot like the Spice Girls to me. They were branded the same way that the Spice Girls were branded, and yes. However, this mixes in like current social media, celebrity issues surrounding being in the public eye, and it jumps around time a lot. So again, it's one of those that you do have to concentrate on. It might be better as a physical book rather than an audiobook, if that is something that you can handle, or a Kindle book, obviously. And the other reason I might recommend not doing the audiobook is that at the beginning, we are in the UK, but it is an American narrator, and these characters are American, and so we have that narrator trying to do more than one British accent and just really failing. There was, I think it was like the second person that was, you know, interviewed in the UK. I had no idea what the accent was at all. It was like I just wasn't understanding what was being said. I just couldn't pick up. It was like, are they trying to be Irish? Are they trying to be Scouse? I'm just not sure. So that was a little bit off-putting, but once I got into the story and we didn't have different accents to contend with, it was fine. But yet again, I am urging you, if you have people with different accents in your book, make sure you get an audiobook narrator who can actually do different accents. And also, how are you in the career of being an audiobook narrator if you can't actually narrate the accents of the audiobooks that you're narrating? I don't know. That's, again, was being my bonnet about some audiobook stuff. What's new? Then I reread Unpregnant, and I listened to the audiobook because the first time I read this one, I just read the proof copy, and I made a whole book versus movie talking about this one, and I talk about how much I enjoyed the audiobook in that video as well. I will leave it linked up above if I haven't already, or I will leave it on the end screen for you to enjoy in just a moment. And then finally, I listened to 4 Lisa Jewell audiobooks that I talk about in full in a whole video. So I'm not going to talk about them here. I listened to 31 Dream Street by Lisa Jewell, which in the US is called Roommates Wanted. So if you're looking for that one, know that it does have a different title over here than the UK title. Then we have A Friend of the Family by Lisa Jewell. Then we have One Hit Wonder by Lisa Jewell. And then we have Vince and Joy by Lisa Jewell, and these are all very different covers to what the covers look like now. I got all 4 audiobooks from my library, and they all have covers that match with the US covers for the most recent Lisa Jewell novels, like The Girls in the Garden, Invisible Girl, Family Upstairs, Then She Was Gone. They all look identical to that, so I'm quite happy to have these sort of vintage covers here, and the fact that I've got this really unique copy of 31 Dream Street. I talk about that in my Lisa Jewell video as a whole, but yes, if you want to know my thoughts on those, go to that video. It'll be here or here or here. But yeah, there you have it. I didn't read everything that was on my TBR in September, but I did enjoy most of what I read, and I read some different stuff too. Aside from the fact that, yes, I have some issues with some things that go on in audiobooks. I'm sure you do too. Let me know in the comments if you have those issues with audiobooks, if you read audiobooks at all. Let me know if you read any of these in the month of September. And also which of the books that I missed off my September TBR should I definitely make sure that I pick up next in the month of October. I will be back with another video for you very soon. If you enjoyed this one, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down, but let me know why in the comments. Make sure you are subscribed so that my next video lands in your subscription feed, and hit the notification bell so that you do get notified when that actually happens. Thank you so much for watching.